We want to start the closing session, and you must make sure that your tie is proper. If you have a hair tie, hairdo, that your hair is in order. You must make sure that you are at your best, because we are going to make a group picture. This picture will go viral around the world. Apollinaire, please come to the high table and sit down. So we have not the entire afternoon, but we are going to celebrate the conclusion of our deliberations the last 3 days. Club of Rome. Let's see, we are going to make a group picture. This picture will go viral around the world. So we have not the entire afternoon, but we are going to celebrate the conclusion of our deliberations the last 3 days. Club of Rome. President should be sitting and not servant leadership. Here. Servant leadership. Without much ado, may I ask who is just there at the door to close that door? Thank you very much. And there is the second door also. My Egyptian sister, can you close that door? You've been a very good volunteer during these days. Thank you very much for those of you who did not have lunch, and those of you who did do. We are back to the closing ceremony, and I'm sure you will look at your program to see that we are taking as a beginning some greetings. This time, His Excellency, the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the Federal Republic of Switzerland, will be speaking first to us. He excused himself on day one because of official duties, but he made it to drive all the way from Bern to be in Geneva and to honor us at this occasion. We are really privileged that Baba Magudu is here. Put your hands together for him. Excellency, will you please kindly come here and read your speech?
The President, Globe Ethics, the Executive Director, Globe Ethics, Ethics and Education professionals here present, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular honor and privilege to join other participants at this 2022 Globe Ethics International Conference. Allow me to express my sincere appreciation to Globe Ethics for the kind invitation to speak to this audience of eminent personalities distinguished speakers, and professionals in the different fields of human endeavor. I'm quite optimistic that this conference will afford the participants the opportunity to share knowledge, stimulate productive discussions, and add value to the theme of this year's conference titled Building New Bridges Together, Ethics and Values at the Heart of Quality Education. The importance and value of education to life, family, and the society is unquantifiable. This acknowledgement of the value of education has ensured that greater priority is accorded the subject by individuals, organizations, and governments. The value of education has further attracted increasing attention in the international discourse, was focused on vulnerable groups as well as the girl-child education. This position is clearly articulated in the Global Development Agenda known as the Sustainable Development Goals. SDG Goal 4 emphasizes the need for inclusive and equitable quality education and promotion of lifelong learning opportunities for all. It is pertinent to note that education begins from the home period to the commencement of learning in formal settings. It will therefore be seen that the values that are imbibed by students originated in the home environment before same is exhibited within the larger society. Education is therefore a lifelong learning process. Dear participants, as a government, Nigeria, in line with global best practices, have continued to recognize the importance of ethics and values in the delivery of quality education to its teeming population. While efforts are ongoing to bridge the knowledge gap between the North and the South, there are also several joint initiatives by government and other development partners to bring quality education within the reach of all students. One of such initiatives is the Nigerian Northern Initiative, a USAID-funded project which seeks to increase access to quality education in two northern states of Bauchi, where I come from, and Sokoto. The Northern Education Initiative has been very successful in enhancing the quality of basic education by improving student enrollment and increasing access for the orphans, vulnerable, and the girl child. As we may be aware, ethics is a reflection of the principles, values, and ideals that shape our relationship and interactions with other people. Ethics remains a key component in quality education, considering its positive influence on learning outcomes. The integration of ethics into education curriculum has immense benefits for learners, such as willingness to assist and support others, recognition of diversities, building friendships, tolerance, among others. Nigeria has, without doubt, made considerable progress in quality education by having the highest number of universities in Africa. More importantly, since the adoption of the SDGs in September 2015, Nigeria has continued to demonstrate its commitment to achieving the global goals on education in Nigeria. Nigeria has further embraced the Child Protection Act, which includes the right to education and feeding programs in schools to encourage students to stay in schools. A key initiative in this regard is the school feeding program, which was introduced by the government in 2016. The program is targeted at providing a safety net for the poor, increase enrollment, and eradicate malnutrition in school-age children, while also stimulating the national agricultural economy. The success of these programs has been acknowledged by the World Food Programme. The Safe School Declaration also demonstrates Nigeria's political commitment to protect students, teachers, and schools from the worst effect of armed conflicts, of which Nigeria is an active member. Nigeria also undertakes and supports initiatives based on the understanding that education is paramount to societal development. Education has the enormous potential to ensure extreme poverty, unemployment, reduction of crime, boosting shared prosperity, and improve the standard of living for the population. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that for individuals to contribute in a responsible manner to society, they have to exhibit a certain degree of good conduct, which can only be provided through quality education based on ethics and values. Quality education helps to bridge the gap in society and develop societal values. Having ethics and values at the core of quality education is a catalyst for a just and peaceful society. Nigeria, like other developing countries, face some peculiar challenges such as the lack of funding, insecurity, and poor adoption and implementation of educational policies, which hinders our commitment to the achievement of quality education for all. However, the government of Nigeria, through the Nigerian University Commission, NUC, and the Federal Ministry of Education, has continued to make quality education a priority by increasing access and ensuring affordability to all citizens. The government of Nigeria supports global efforts to make quality education a priority through collaboration with our partners to achieve educational objectives based on openness, inclusion, tolerance, justice, knowledge, and character, moral integrity, and ethical leadership. This support will go a long way in assisting the government in making tangible progress with regards to quality education. In conclusion, today, as we are all aware, is Global Ethics Day, and this calls for need to create awareness and impact important issues facing our world. One of such issues is lack of access to quality education in the developing world. We therefore have a moral responsibility as individuals, organizations, and governments to undertake actions that will create strong values and ethical standards to create a world that will reflect true humanity. I wish to commend Global Ethics for the excellent coordination and convening of this important conference to stimulate conversations on ethics and values as key components of quality education. It is my sincere hope that the outcome of this conference will contribute significantly to the global discussion on education and also assist policy makers, professionals, and governments to make vital decisions to ensure to enhance quality education for all. Thank you, and wishing you a happy deliberation.
His Excellency has addressed us and the high expectations he places on globeethics.net, and all of us who are here present is already a sign of that which lies ahead of us in terms of continuing the good journey and bringing it to a successful conclusion, the unfinished work. Thank you, Ambassador Madugu. We are privileged to have addressing us and sending a warm greeting, a good neighbor of globeethics.net, the CEO of the ACT Alliance. The ACT Alliance, he will be speaking to it, Rudelma de Pereira, great brother and friend. He is here in person to give his greetings. Rudelma, please take the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here giving greetings to this conference, to the participants of this conference. I'm very sorry that I was not able to be here the first day, but unfortunately, some medical appointments were given to me over these 2 days. But I'm happy to be here with you today. And I would like to say that in times of when the world is facing a massive moral and ethical crisis, the role of organizations like Globethics is fundamental. The increasing polarization in our societies, in our families, in our institutions, and the new narratives on issues that for many years have been used to define values of inclusion, solidarity, and justice are now being challenged. Ethical and social norms are being redefined to accommodate principles that exclude people and idolatrize political and economical systems as a determinant for societal behavior. In part, this is a result of the confluence of fundamentalism, religious, economic, and political fundamentalism, which create also conspiracy theories that thrives in troubled times with serious real-world impacts. And we can see that in all our countries, in our regions, that's happening. And I hope that you have been able, during this week, to discern the best way to address the challenges, but also the opportunities around the theme of this conference, ethics and values at the heart of the quality education. As we have a new opportunity to build a new social contract which honors the dignity of every human being, we cannot ignore the need to discern on ethical issues and have education as a catalyst to help inform all those people, but also institutions that are determining the future state of humanity, global relations, and also the priorities in our communities and societies. We know that education can play a central role in building the resilience, knowledge, and analytical skill needed to pre-bunk or to debunk all these narratives, including through media and information literacy. And to strengthen educational responses through advocacy, research, and training, it's crucial to have organizations like globeethics.net to help people and organizations like the ACT Alliance to understand the importance of ethics in the different realms of societal life. As the ambassador mentioned, the SDG 4 strives to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. And that means that education must be rooted in ethics, philosophy, religion, science, dignity, and values that believe that all human beings are inherently worthy. And dignity is the basis of self-respected and unconditional respect for others. We are aware that the search to overcome ignorance, injustice, and violence require us to consider the diversity of problems and subjects as well involved to build solutions with democratic and ethical proposals that strengthening solidarity and also the common good. And many of the ACT Alliance members are involved in educational initiatives. We have members that are working in refugee camps providing education to refugees, others working in education and emergencies, but also many members engage even with academia, with the educational institutions. And in this journey, we certainly face ethical dilemmas that affect our decision-making and may violate or compromise our ethical standards. And I believe that that's not exclusively for humanitarian and development organizations, but for many, many other organizations. Therefore, it's crucial that we explore well the scope of ethical standards to help our members and also our partner organizations, the communities that we are working with, to guide their decision-making and also differentiate between right and wrong. And this is especially challenging nowadays, as we are living in a very complex world with the paradigms changing and the values as well. Congratulations on finishing this conference. I really hope that you have enjoyed the discussions and that it has answered a lot of the questions that you had about ethical issues around education. And we know that teaching ethics and training people to use them doesn't promise to provide answers to the complex moral dilemmas that we have and ethical dilemmas. However, the knowledge of ethics can facilitate the development of awareness of what is ethical, help individuals and groups and organizations like the ACT Alliance to realize that their ethical tolerance and decision-making styles decrease unethical blind spots and enhance discussions of moral problems openly in the workplace within our own organizations. And I think that the point of addressing ethics and in quality education, that is something that is not only for organizations that are embedded in this field of education. That is a responsibility that we have as human beings. We need to deal with these aspects on a daily basis. And especially in terms of fake news and the disinformation that we have in our midst, it's fundamental that the values and the ethics guide us. Otherwise, we will be perpetuating something that we never had before, not for the good, but for the worst. So it's fundamental, and I want to thank Globethics for this work and also to express our interest. We know that we have a lot of room to increase cooperation and partnerships, and that will be one of the topics that we will be addressing with you directly in the next months. Thank you very much.
Rudelma, you have said that going forward, we shall deepen our collaboration. And this is something that is important. I mean, we are on the second floor. He's on the first floor. I sit on top of him. And for the past 6 years, my paths with Rudelma have crossed a few times. In this hall where we were, Pope Francis addressed us from there. And my nearest neighbor was Rudelma. You remember?
I have a picture of it.
Very good. And it did not end there, many other crossings, but today before all of us, and that is for Fadi, very good news, you must be shaking the hand of Rudelma because he sits on $10 billion. Or you might say 10 billion graces. He's a man of faith. Thank you very much for your speech. And because we are going to document all the speeches, we shall do our work of editing finally, and then of course bringing out the book. I am privileged to pull the president, the global president of the Club of Rome, the global vice president of the Club of Rome, from the international annual general meeting of the Club of Rome holding yesterday and today in Switzerland. a club to which I also belong, and where I had to sit with my buttocks on one seat or the other, because my people say you cannot do it on two seats as one human being. And I am honored that sitting at the GlobeEthics.net seat, the president and the vice president came all the way from Winterthur once the meeting was ending to join us at GlobeEthics.net. Please put your hands together to welcome Professor Dr. Mamphela Ramphele. And she is not only a professor, she was, I think, the first Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town. She was at the helm of affairs in the anti-apartheid fight. She didn't go to prison, but she saw all those who went to prison. But beyond that, at the Club of Rome, she has brought so much vision and knowledge as co-president with our other colleagues in terms of pushing the agenda of the Club of Rome, which really synergizes with GlobeEthics.net. Today, we are going to sign, after her speech and that of the Vice President, we are going to sign a collaboration agreement, which will be witnessed in this hall. And I want to thank you for really coming, Manfela, my sister. Please address us.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the warm welcome that we got here. But I also come from a continent where, as the sister of this man you are honoring this morning, I have to add my voice to say just how proud we are that the son of Africa has been leading this great institution. And look at the impact we have. Thank you very much. I just want to bring you greetings from the Club of Rome, which, as my brother said, we had our annual meetings yesterday, and so we couldn't join you earlier. But we are here because we believe that this world, which is facing so many emergencies, has to find a way of emerging from these multiple emergencies that we, as the human race, have brought upon ourselves. The beauty of it is that this process of emergence is not something that knocks at the door. You can sense it, you feel it. And throughout our meetings and throughout the last 4 years that we have been leading this Club of Rome, we are meeting and hearing and sensing the emergence of new ways of being human, of new ways of learning anew how to be human in the ethical way that you're talking about. We are born as ethical beings. When we grow up in our villages, they don't say you have done well. They say a person does what you are doing. So it is ingrained in you that ethics, empathy, compassion, self-respect, and respect for others is really what it means to be human. And so we, as the Club of Rome, given our history of looking into the future, have embraced not only that distant future, but also the now. So our systems thinking, which we learn from how living systems work and change, is not simply a matter of in the future, it is a matter of the now. And this now is what we are called to address. You're talking about building bridges. Yes, we can't get momentum of this emergence from emergencies unless we build the bridges between us as the people who are sensing this, who are creating the spaces like you have here for people to focus on how do we learn anew to become human in a way that Mother Earth will come down and realize that we, her children, are learning. But I want to also address the section that you talk about education. And I want to make a plea. This is a moment in our history like no other. We've never had this huge number, particularly in most of the world, particularly my country, but also Asia, Latin America. We've never had so many young people between the ages of 18 and 35 who are as educated, as keenly interested, as engaged as we have now. And so when we talk quality education, let's not only think about the quality of the academic side of the education. We have to rethink this industrial era educational system that exists in most of the world, including here in Europe. It's a good foundation that we had, but like all living systems, we've got to think about transforming it so it can answer the problems of today and prepare us better, and even better, prepare our grandchildren for a better way of being human and living in a manner that enables us to have well-being for all and for a healthy planet. We at the Club of Rome are absolutely excited about the prospect of partnering with Globe Ethics because you have been walking this journey of values-based education and values-based way of being. And so we are looking forward to working together, not just with the officials, but all of you who are here. Potentially, we are partners. These bridges must also connect us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear Obiora, dear all of you. It's a big challenge to speak after my dear friend and sister Mamphela. You know, what could I say? You heard her enthusiasm, her vibrant energy, which is also mine for being here with you today, representing the Club of Rome. And I would say something that we are starting to weave together with Globe Ethics today. No, the Club of Rome is a small group of thinkers and practitioners from all around the world, from different backgrounds, from science, many different disciplines in science, in politics, business, but also social activism, sharing a concern, the concern for the future of humanity, of our common humanity. If I have to define what we do in a very short sentence, I say, when we are good, we ask better questions. This is what we do. Not more than that, not less than that, because better questions are useful to illuminate our blind spots. You mentioned that expression. And then possibly to create better futures through knowledge, through the exploration of new ideas and new possibilities. 50 years ago, exactly 50 years ago, we became famous because we published a book, The Limits to Growth, which was asking a concrete question: does prosperity, does material, or could material prosperity lead to collapse? Which was a very unusual question by the time. And by making a simulation of many different scenarios for the future, the book was saying, well, it could. And most probably, in most of the scenarios, that was leading to collapse. The model of development, quote unquote, that we had at the time, which is the same we have today, could lead to collapse due to a combination of over-exploitation of resources, but also of people all over the world, and pollution. But that was not the only message of the book. The most important part was unfortunately not heard. The most important part was that the possibility to do something different was also there, that humanity could develop other pathways to a balance between equitable well-being, equitable human well-being within a healthy biosphere. We adopted last year the slogan Global Equity for a Healthy Planet, which of course resonates so much with what you do. And we learned in the Club of Rome very rapidly from the book, The Limits to Growth sold millions of copies, but it didn't change the course of things. We learned that very rapidly, and we realized, and particularly our founder, Aurelio Peccei, an absolutely outstanding personality, realized that there was something on which we hadn't put enough focus: the human factor, humanity, and the human gap. And a few years later, in 1979, we published another report titled No Limits to Learning, which connects so evidently with all what you are doing. That was again ignored, but the questions which are there, and the question was, what do we have to learn to reconcile humanity with nature, humanity with life? We are working on them today, this year, on occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Limits to Growth. We have published 2 books, 2 new reports. One is titled Earth for All, which is an attempt at a practical guide of how do we make real this idea of global equity for a healthy planet. It's not perfect. It's not responses written in marble. It's an invitation also to discuss, to debate, and to learn. And the second book we published, actually you published it before, is titled Limits and Beyond. And it addresses the question of why didn't we learn? Why didn't we learn in these 50 years? And we are now in a, sorry to say, in many ways, we could say for many millions of people better than then, but also with so many challenges in front of us, which you could say humanity is at the same time thriving and committing suicide. And how do we get out of that? By learning, but learning requires to do something which I think humanity was maybe not prepared to do at the time, which is believing in our own capacities, betting on the capacity, the humanity, and the capacity of everybody to engage in learning new ways and in giving birth to better futures, to desirable futures. This is the space. This book is dedicated to all people, past, present, and future, struggling to open the space of possibilities. Because we believe in that. We have the space of possibilities. It depends on us betting on the humanity and the capacity of everybody. And so it is dedicated to all of you. Because what I see you are doing is exactly that. Struggling, working, definitely to open the space of possibilities, among other things, by making accessible in an online and open source way so much knowledge about some essential issues, about how are we true to our values, and how by being true to our values, we shift from this dream of ever-growing material prosperity to relational prosperity. So this is the day where the relationship already existed at a personal level with Obiora. Now this is becoming an institutional relationship. And of course, as you are lovers of books, and we are too, me particularly, we came here with these two books to give them to you in the person of Obiora, so that you enjoy the knowledge which is here, and we ask questions together, my dear friend.
Thank you very much. You are giving us a competition, Carlos. The president of globeethics.net will now also revenge.
Okay. Oh.
It's an opportunity, and if I may ask you to come here. Your sister from South Africa, if I may call. We published together a book on ethics in higher education, very few leaders for the future.
Wow.
And you hand it over to her.
Wow. Wonderful.
And we
Thank
talked
you.
over lunch about finance ethics, which is one of your hubs.
Yes.
And this is another book on that we published on finance ethics, which I authored, yes.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we can now continue. We are going now to sign an agreement between Deputy Director globeethics.net. Can you please come? We formalize it. This is a cooperation agreement between globeethics.net Foundation and the Club of Rome. And the goal is very clear: to create synergies and to strengthen the implementation of the objectives of our respective organizations, and so on and so forth. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. The first is who is Globe Ethics, this and its core values. The second is who is Club of Rome, completed. And the next is, of course, we agree to contribute Club of Rome publications to globeethics.net open access library and explore together the opportunity to create an online open access library on systemic thinking and socio-ecological transformations. Then we explore co-publication opportunities. Yesterday we were discussing summer school. Club of Rome is discussing summer school. Club of Rome has all the money, gives it to Globe Ethics, you do your summer school. Then we explore a Club of Rome award or recognition for innovation amongst globeethics.net authors. So authors get a Club of Rome award. Then you share education opportunities through both in our networks and co-organize course or training opportunities. We co-organize in-person and online conferences. The Club of Rome holds conferences and they transform the world. Some few years ago, we went to the Vatican and the Pope and his people came to address us. Many other years, we've been to Brazil, to Germany, Switzerland, to Germany, to South Africa. First time when we went to South Africa in Speyer, every member of the Club of Rome had an executive lounge, free of charge, paid by a South African. Normally, you pay your trip, you pay your food, you pay your hotel, and so on and so forth. First time Club of Rome held a meeting in Africa, Africa taught Club of Rome what is hospitality. Just come, eat, drink, have a room, sleep, and the rooms were really very large, inspired. When we went to Berlin, I had to pay for my room. When we went to anywhere in Europe, I had to pay for my room. We were thinking about going to Japan and so on, but thank you very much for Speyer, because it brought us into the African contribution to the Club of Rome. I mean, cooperate also on other projects, promote each other's activities in their respective networks, mention each other as project cooperation partners. You cannot say no to this.
No. It's too good to.
So while you sign, Lucy, come to my own side. He signs. we have to come, and how do we do it? We have to exchange two.
Okay.
So while you give him,
Okay.
I give her.
All right.
Or while you, okay, we can come out. Thank you very much. We'll take it. And now, please go back to your seat. Dr. Kamel Ayadi is the National Director of GlobeEthics.net in Tunisia and the Middle East and North Africa. He has been a minister of the federal government of Tunisia, 2 or 3-time minister. He leads the integrity questions in business, in society, and in education. This is a man who made it possible for GlobeEthics.net to even get the entire Ministry of Education in the country to agree that ethics becomes a curriculum subject across the entire country in terms of education. And he's pulling his weight on many other levels. We are really privileged to have you. COVID prevented our bridges, but we have now broken those bridges in terms of building new bridges. Welcome, and please address us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Biora. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like, first of all, to pay tribute to GlobeEthics.net, to its leaders, executive, and staff members for providing us with such a wonderful opportunity to meet and to reflect on ethics, value, and spirituality. To me, these 3 days were not just an immersion in these issues which are close to my heart, but they were also a pleasant and friendly reunion with global ethic heroes after such a long distance caused by the pandemic. I believe that you deserve to be characterized as a heroes and champions because you have decided to devote your time and effort to ethics and values in such a hard time where our world is ruled by the sake of profit and dominated by selfishness and injustice. However, I am personally optimistic about the future. I wanted to share with you my hope that things are changing, maybe slowly, but surely. I'm a strong believer that the golden age of ethics and values is coming soon. There is a growing awareness about the necessity to return to ethics and values to find solutions to the huge problems our societies are facing nowadays. The emergence of the public discourse on ethics, about ethics and value is timely and inevitable. Know that the world has hit the bottom. After decades of selfishness, the world ends up in such a big mess. Environmental threats, social problems, growing injustice, inequalities, disparities, poverty, etc., etc. Let me just give you 2 examples that illustrate this return to values and ethics as an inspiring source for a new sustainable solution to these problems. I have been involved over the past 25 years in efforts to combat corruption on global, regional, and national levels. And this time period could be broken down into three main phases. I remember 25 years ago when we started talking about the appropriate solutions to address and to end corruption. We were mainly talking about repression. We needed to put people in jail to end corruption. And you remember business and political leaders which were convicted and the companies which were sentenced of fine. But it appeared quickly that this solution was not the appropriate solutions. We couldn't end, and we experienced this kind of solution in our countries. After the revolution, we started putting everyone in jail, but we realized later on that it was not the appropriate solutions. Then we started the second phase thinking about tighten the law, criminalize corruption, put rules and procedures in every gap, in every window through which corruption may occur. And you remember that most of countries developed local legal framework in compliance with the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. But soon after that, we realized that it was not sufficient to address corruption. Then there was a time not so long ago when we international community, particularly experts, we started thinking about the magic solutions to address corruption. We thought about management tools, and we presented them that the appropriate solution to address corruption. And then experts started working, and I have been involved in many of these tools and instruments, which we thought that would end corruption. We talked about the number of standards to address corruption. ISO 37001 anti-bribery management system. Standards, ISO standards about whistleblowing. ISO standards about compliance. ISO standards about conflict of interest, which is undergoing. About money laundering. Then we started again to think that this is not sufficient, because at the same time, meanwhile, corruption was increasing everywhere according to Transparency Perception Index. So all the solutions that we experienced appear to be insufficient to address corruption. Then nowadays, we started to think about a shift paradigm from compliance approach. You remember that many companies adopted a robust compliance program. Now we are shifting from the compliance approach to the integrity approach. We realize that it's not enough to work to put rules, to put procedures. We need also to work on individuals, on a human being, to promote their integrity, individual integrity, which is the best and the appropriate solution. So the solution now is not just to do things right, but to do the right things. So now we go back, we return back to the necessity to address corruption through the development of a human being, through integrity, ethics, and values, because all the solutions appear to be useless. Of course, they provided some results, but we still need to work on a human being. The second example is an example of my countries. I come from a country which we did a revolution 12 years ago, and we are facing a lot of challenges. Some of these challenges turn to be serious problems nowadays. The public discourses described the problems, our problems, as a political crisis. 10 years ago, we talked about political crisis. We are in a political crisis. 2 or 3 years after, we talked about, no, it's a communication crisis. We are in a communication crisis. And after is economic crisis. And nowadays, we talk about only one single crisis, is the moral crisis. There is no political crisis. There is no social crisis. There is no communication crisis. There is only a moral crisis and a crisis of value. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much for the work that you are doing. And we need you, guys. The world needs you because the future will be for ethics, integrities, and values. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's a mess. I will write it. It's just write it right now. So much.
I think Kamel spoke from the heart, not just to do things right, but to do the right things. We shall now fly to Argentina. That's where the world ends. And Julio, who is the last to address us here shortly, is being invited to please send us your word of greetings. Thank you very, very much, Julio.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank you all Globetics authorities and also the very inspiring addresses that we hear this afternoon. I would like to focus on 2 points. The title of our meeting, the values and ethics at the heart of education. And I remember a professor when I did my PhD at the University of Navarra, Professor Alejandro Llano, and he used to repeat in the university, the important thing is not teaching, but learning. And I would like to apply this idea to our meeting in Geneva. And the important thing is that we learn or what we learn in this meeting. So I think that the idea of learning could be more enriching than the idea of teaching, because it has a personal dimension. I think the idea of what I learn. And I would like to say that I learned a lot about all of you. It was very inspiring, and so I think I will come to the end of the world, Argentina, with my bags plain of many words, things that I learned. And this, the second point that Obiora mentioned was that Pope Francis was here 4 years ago, I think, in 2018. So I would like to remember him. I think he's the most famous. Probably Lionel Messi also is very famous, and it was a nice moment yesterday night when Obiora gives Fat a soccer balloon. It was the presence, but I think that Pope Francis is an excellent reference for our meeting also. And I remember the Laudato Si encyclical as a very inspirational document for our work. And so thank you very much and have a nice day.
Argentina is not actually the end of the world. Argentina is the center because Pope Francis was the bishop in Buenos Aires in Argentina. Thank you very, very much for your speech. And please keep on standing here. May you all please come down because we want to shake your hands in a globe ethics way. I've invited 4 members and a sister from the Vatican, where Pope Francis used to come and join in giving you our gifts. Volunteer?
Thank you.
And now a group picture asking the president please to join. That aside, a group picture of this panel. Okay, the chocolates are still coming. We now have in the closing session a question that is being asked: where do we go from here? How do we discern the path ahead together? This is not a question to be answered by one person. Where do we go from here? It will be too much to sketch all that has happened in the last days, because we had rapporteurs every morning who spoke to the activities that had happened. But definitely, even from the speeches being made today, you will see that globeethics.net is going to a new strategy from 2023 to 2027. The board of the foundation has arrived to discuss this strategy and approve it tomorrow and next tomorrow. But the strategy will focus on a few key areas, one of which is using education to impact ethical leadership for governance. That is a first point. When we go into education and bringing ethics into it, and impact leadership, we change governance, and that is point one. Point two, and many of you who have spoken talk to that. The second one is humanizing digitalization. We listened to it even when the Club of Rome spoke and others spoke, because digitalization is the way that has been understood in the world as Zoom and all the others I mentioned. But how does digitalization become a tool and not a master? And how does the human being continue to be the auger of digitalization? So that is point two, which Globe Ethics will be going forward towards. And with all of you, we do hope that research possibilities and so on will go into that. Number three, and that's a very, very important and key area. How do we as globeethics.net do what you call environmental justice that addresses climate, planet, people, and this morning we already had some presentation on that. In other words, that we don't just become ideological about climate change as it was one, but that the human being who is part of the natural environment is driving, using common sense, sound reason, and social common good to address issues of environmental justice. So we move beyond climate to the environment. And the environment is the world of nature, world of nurture, world of flora, world of science, world beyond the ones we see and we do not see, including the divine, including the local traditions. So that will be an agenda which many of you have brought up in this hall, which the globeethics.net Foundation has received as a proposal to consider. And the last, the issues of peace and social justice, what we call about bridging the gaps in poverty, making access possible, what we call inclusion, going the way of the United Nations Sustainable Goals, but making them also sustainable ethical goals. So these are four key areas where I think if we want to go home, Globe Ethics will be thinking deeper around this, not only, but it will be doing that through research, collaborations. We just signed one research collaboration. You listen to the content of that research. People who are studying around the world will have opportunity for a summer school to come together and see how they can change the world, because ideas change history. So there will be research, there will be publications at many levels. We even hear now, even from the Club of Rome, that we should be giving prizes to best books that come from us. We are thinking about the academy and the resources which we have. And this morning in one of the groups, or was it yesterday, the entire thing about a multi-university, not an uno versitas, but a multi-versitas. And Globe Ethics is being encouraged. And that coming from the voice of the president of the board himself, not just to be one university out of, but a multi-university that gives ethics its place, its seat im Leben, its raison d'être to move around and impact the world. So that will be part of the communique we shall be listening to when we bring in people. So where do we go from here? We go into work. We go into thinking. We go into research. We go into partnerships, joint partnerships. The Presbyterian University in Nairobi is here. Your Vice Chancellor has received already, because you cannot sign for him. He says he wants to sign it himself. You know, African people, he wants to own the thing. Because if you sign, you might sign the half of the thing. So that is where we are going to join partnerships. And many of you who are visiting, you are, who are listening, you are all part of this. So permit me therefore to come, having said all that, and there will be many more to be had, permit me to come to agenda 4, which is Future Education Awards Ceremony. globeethics.net Future Education Awards Ceremony. Everybody merits an award because everybody works very hard. but some people get a prize at the end, and they get it representing all those. It's not me alone. Even if I get the prize, I get it for us. So they identified the youth forum, for example. The youth were here. They kicked off the thing 3 days ago. So are the youth here? Can they please show their faces so that we can recognize them and give them a present? We're very, very eager. Is that Kamel? You know, for the, was Camila here? And then we have Lucas, and we have Aloysius, the Youth Awards. Can they please come forward? The youth. The youth came out with contributions that made meaning. We remember, yeah, are you two youths? Where is the woman?
You know.
Okay, you are now a woman. And you are now a man. Okay, Nadia. Okay, otherwise we turn him into a woman. You know, it's possible in Europe only, and in America. What we think is to recognize these young people. You have a certificate, and yours is a bronze award, and yours is a silver award, and the other one, I hope is not gold. Amir. And this one is a gold award. Which one is bigger, gold or bronze or silver? Which one? Is gold higher than bronze? Anyway, my mama will prefer gold. My mama in Nigeria will prefer gold. Congratulations, each and every one of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that is the Youth Award. You may now go and sit down. We have another award, and that is the award to institution. I just want to see which institution we are awarding. Okay, there's still another award, a presentation to Chukwudi John Paul, an award he won in 2021 at globeethics.net online hackathon, which he has further developed and presented in the workshop. So you already collected your certificate, correct? Is the award there for Chukwudi, an institution award? Otherwise, you bring chocolate for. Did you get chocolate? Yeah. Okay, very good, because Switzerland, you get it from Ivory Coast, but you call it Swiss. Very clever. Sorry, watch it. Is that so no, give it to him. Give it to him. So this is, and he is from the Catholic Institute for Development, Justice and Peace in Nigeria, the institute I founded many years ago, but he got the award for the hackathon, something new again. Congratulations. Your certificate, you collected it already? Okay, so well, we need a handshake, wait for it. So did I see an institution award here, Christine? So institution with the most innovative ethics approach and best Storybytes. Hugo Otivo, Universidad Católica de Córdoba, and then Universidad de Manila, Philippines, and then Chuka University in Kenya. Are they here? Can they please come forward if they are represented? The certificate, please. No, just wait. Bring the 3 certificates of those I've mentioned. Have you gotten that one?
Lucas is an alumni of Universidad Católica de Córdoba. Perhaps he can.
Lucas, can you come and pick the certificate? Yeah, that's the bronze. That's the Manila and Yolanda. Chuka University. Católica de Cordoba, yeah. So there's confusion in our backyard. We start with Manila. Where's the chocolate? You know, it's very important. So Yolanda, you are getting actually 2 certificates. One in your name as Yolanda Sebastian Lira, a woman who brings ethics to police officers. I wonder how you cope. And she took globe ethics to the Philippines to go and address police officers who carry gun. And who have a gun and they can shoot you or they may not. We marvel at the great things you do. And police were planting trees. Thank you very, very much. So also for the University of Manila, you get a silver award. And then for Cordoba, Hugo Olivo. Lucas, you are representing them. You know, that's where the world ends. But you should be there actually because this is Argentina. So, okay, very good. Bring him his chocolate. That is number 1. Thank you for chocolate. Thank you very much. And then, of course, the university in East Africa, Crispin Isaboke, and then Chuka University. And you get a bronze award. I've not found this one. Okay, so we shake your hand. You can go and occupy the seat there till your certificate comes. Thank you very much. And now we have finished with the institution.